Hello, my beloved moneymakers. It's the beginning of 2026, which means that very soon you will be getting this new game in your inbox. I'm very excited to have them all handed out to you. As we look ahead at the new year and look at all of the good new games that this year will bring, it's also time to look back at previous years because Moneymaker, the one that I'm having here, is already in its third edition. And so today we're going to look at the previous editions and why we made them in the first place, and do that in the light of some recent developments that have been happening. So here we have the third edition with the game as it looks like that you will be having very soon. Here we see the second edition game, which looks rather similar, and here we see the first edition game. In 2026 we printed the first one, so here we can see that over the course of times, from 2026, 2028, 2018, 2025, a lot of visual improvements have been made. But what remains is that the game is still super fun to play, and it's also a very big a very good way to learn about the financial system and to explain complex financial subjects. So we have, in the case of something that happened at the end of 2025, which maybe you've seen coming by in the news, which was the attempt of the European Union to try to steal money from the Russian state that was held in the Belgian bank. Now, why is there 180 billion Russian money in a bank in Belgium in the first place? To explain that and to explain why they tried to take it, why they didn't take it, and what's the consequence of taking Russia's money that's held in Belgium. We're going to do that using the board game of the first and second edition of Moneymaker. So here we see the first edition. We see that the board was nice and square and all these cool little, we already had these same goods. So these game items have been updated in the third edition. Here we see that this same game element, it now looks a lot simpler, which is very nice to handle. And also the board just looks amazingly beautiful. Just look at this. I'm very happy with the way it all turns out. So here we see the third edition board that you will be getting at your place, and the first edition, the way it was for the first players who bought the game, which we're all very happy for. Now, what we're going to do is, or what Moneymaker has always been for, is to teach people basic concepts about finance. And often finance appears to be very complex, but actually if you know like the basics, and this game is really about the basics of finance, it's the goldsmith's tale, it's the oldest finance story. If you just know this story, then you know 90% of finance and you can infer the rest out of here. Now we're going to explain a little bit about the seizure, or the attempted seizure by the European Union, of Russian held money in the Belgian clearinghouse. But first we need to understand, like, why is there a lot of Russian money in the Belgian clearinghouse? Now, let us say that we have that these game boards are two different countries. We have Russia over here and we have Europe over here. And now there is a Russian company and they buy and sell and they trade with Russian rubles. And these Russian rubles, by definition, they are held in a Russian bank, because only Russian regulated banks, regulated by the Russian central bank, can hold rubles, right? Either in rubles or in cash. Now there's a Russian company, let's say Gazprom, and they have a lot of gas, and they have so much gas that they want to sell it abroad. They want to sell it to the people that live in Europe. But how do they get, so it's easy for them to ship the gas to Europe, or it's getting a bit more difficult since the blowing up of the Nord Stream pipeline, but that's another story. But assuming you get the gas in Europe, how do you get the Europeans to spend their money in Russia? Well, let's make it simpler. How do you usually do that? Well, if you travel abroad, then you take some of your own currency and you change it at the border into the nation's currency that you're visiting. And then when you're there, you spend the nation's currency, and whatever you have left at the end of your holidays, maybe you change it back in your own currency and you don't use it anymore. But what if your company sends you on a work trip to go to another country to set up shop there and to start an importing-exporting business? Now you would start up and get a bank account at a local bank. And this bank account would be denominated in the currency of the area. So if you are a Russian company and you set up an exporting business in Europe, then you would have a European bank account trading in euros. And now you can sell your gas in Europe and receive euros from the European people. Now, if you don't do this for one company, but you do this for an entire nation, and you trade between two nations, then this bank account is probably going to get very big. It's probably going to get very, very big, depending on the size of the trade between the two countries. Now, Russia's assets held at the clearing bank in Belgium are 190 billion euros, which sounds like a lot of money. But if you are trading between two enormous countries, you probably will have a lot of money going back and forth. So it's not criminal money, it's not strange money, it's regular trading money for regular trade between two countries. But now the European Union, so ever since the Russians invaded Ukraine, the European Union has put a blockade on this money. And blockading this money meant that there is no more trade possible between Russia and Europe. And so the regular trading relationships that used to exist, now they do not exist anymore. Or as the old Austrian scholars used to say, when trade no longer crosses borders, then soldiers do. The breakdown of trade is usually the beginning of hostilities, the beginning of battle between peoples. Now, this money of the Russian people was held in a claim by Euroclear. It was held in a blocked, meaning that nobody can touch it. And the European Union was like, well, we would like to take this money and spend it and give it to the Ukrainian people. So we would, what they would do is they would, steal the Russian money and give it to Ukraine. And of course, the Russians said, well, that is stealing. Now the European Union said, well, it's not stealing because we will change the law. And the law decides what is stealing. And if we change the law, then stealing is no longer stealing. And the Russians said, well, we are going to sue you. We will sue you in court and you are not allowed to steal our money. Now, for these kinds of disputes, there are international investment settlement disputes. And very likely the Russians, they will get their money back because this seen by many people, including the Belgian government, would be seen as stealing. Now, what happens if this money gets stolen? Now, there's a couple of risks that are happening here. There's two main risks, and the first main risk is that the other countries will see what the European Union is trying to steal the Russian bank, and they no longer feel like their money is safe in Europe. So the reputation that the Euroclear has, it goes down. And what does it mean when the reputation goes down? Well, it means that countries are more likely to take their money out of the euro banks. So also at the end of last year, the Italian central bank took 300 billion euros worth of their gold out of the European Central Bank. Why did they do that? Well, they were starting to lose their trust. And that is the second thing that is happening because of people being unclear if the money in their bank that belongs to them is really safe. The trust will slowly go away, and trust in a banking system is like a game of musical chairs. If the trust is gone, the music ends, everybody runs for the exits, meaning everybody tries to get their hands on the gold as quickly as possible. And that is what we're seeing today in gold prices, silver prices. In the last year, silver has more than doubled, gold has doubled its price. And yeah, so if the trust in financial institutions is going to continue going down, as trust usually does, then most likely in the coming year, 2026, the price of gold, the price of silver will also go up again. So here we have the relationship between the EU and Russia, the Italian central banks, explained in terms of moneymaker game mechanics. Now we cannot wait for you to get the game in your hands and get trying with it yourself, and hopefully you'll make bank like a big Russian or Frankfurter banker. Thank you all for watching very much, and we are so looking forward to getting your reactions on playing the new game.